validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I am your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. We got us a pretty chock full of information Monday today. We're going to be talking about how we're going to get focused on our wealth in today's economy with the plan that Mr. Trump has put together. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Join the membership if you can. For those individuals that want to jump onto the show and give a special shout out, you want to make sure that you click that link, approve the mic, approve the camera, puts you in the StreamYard's green room, and then we will be able to confirm that you're over the age of 18, get you in here, say what you got to say. Keep your comments and opinions appropriate for the most part. For the rest of you that are under the age of 18 or individuals that don't feel like being seen on the show, we do have some trolls that come through here and we enlighten them on a regular basis. By all means, leave your comments in the comment section, but keep your comments, again, appropriately, reasonably. I don't mind the occasional heckler, but as long as your comments are appropriate, we will be okay. Remember, we are live 7 nights a week, 10 o'clock Central Time, approximately 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and 7 o'clock California time. Have not heard that California's been put out yet. Gonna double check it tonight and make sure that you guys know what's going on. TikTok has not been acquisitioned yet. We are still working on that debate as well. So while we're still trying to get the scoop and the skinny and the inside track on everything that we've got going on around us, I want to make sure that you guys join me today as we get into Trump's wealth secrets with his current budget strategy. We're going to see if we can figure out how we can build an empire the way he did. And I got to tell you guys, this is a pretty lengthy scenario. So I'm going to be going through a lot of details here and there, but I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of tips and tricks along the way so that you guys can potentially try to make some different business decisions. I want to give a special shout out to Red Void, Danny Steffen, Omni81, Reese Martinez, Max Opposer, Joe, Max's father, Mr. Pibbs, and special shout out to Romania, Bolivia, Vietnam, and Russia. All of y'all have been showing us a lot of support over the past 2 years, so we really appreciate you guys. Technically, we're like a year and 4 months, but you know, we started in 23, it's 25. I'm gonna call it 2 years. Just take that extra, round up. Either way, appreciate you guys. Congratulations to Ruderus. Special shout out to Ruderus. He took some of our dating advice over the weekend and he got himself a significant other, and it is working out for him and the family. So he got family approval as well, based on the advice that I was able to give him. We have relationship discussions, social inequality, social improvement, self-improvement, and first-person accountability style discussions Thursday through Saturday. Sunday is our members only, open to the public at the moment. Live shows that are going to be reactions to questions and comments from the fans. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are business and finance related topics where we're going to be talking about how we can improve our cash flow based on what we're experiencing with today's economy, whether we're building businesses, trusts, offshore investments, foreign national investment capital from any country in the world, as we try to cover a lot of the different countries. We've covered a few, but we haven't covered them all, and we're going to be trying to make time to cover the rest of them. But there are so many things that's happening right now in U.S. politics that is negatively or positively impacting U.S. Wealth distribution, which will have significant direct impact on our ability to make money, save money, invest money, and spend money, and also the impacts of most recent activities that will have drastic changes to our buying power. This is all going to lead to different ways for us to think about how we're going to put our money in today's society. So got to talk about these things. I got to talk about it as it comes. So as we run out of breaking news bulletins that we got to cover from last week's shenanigans, we will then start rolling into some of the extracurricular stuff around the world as well. But we have Tuesday and Wednesday to spread towards some of the other things also. So make sure that, again, that you guys like and subscribe. But we're going to be understanding Donald Trump's wealth secrets and understanding that this is crucial in grasping his business success and political careers. I'm going to need you to translate that. Is that Arabic that you sent to me? I'm going to put this up here. I hope this isn't profanity. I do not have translation software on YouTube, much less on StreamYard, to be able to acquire that text. And let me see. No, I don't have any positive buttons that I can utilize. That says what? Nambert o enet pium. I don't know. Can you help me with some English translations on that? I don't have the software to translate the text, unfortunately. I can understand some languages being a teacher, but I don't know all of them. I can't speak all of them, and I definitely cannot read all of them. But special shout out to this guy, 3AB ECTB Gaming. Special shout out. He has a question. I will answer it if you can translate the question to English text so that I can understand your question. Greatly appreciate that. As he writes out the question, I will keep going. You have to understand that his business success and political career is based off of some of the business decisions and critical thinking that he uses. Many people wonder how he amassed such an enormous fortune. And today we're going to explore some of those secrets. Then we're going to be talking about some of his decision-making progresses that's been made in recent time in our political atmosphere. So there's misconceptions about Trump's wealth, and that's the thing that we're thinking about. People believe that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Actually, it was more gold. And many people believe he had it easy with his father being a wealthy real estate developer. He sent it to me in a different language. This is Chinese, I think. Traditional Chinese or Vietnamese. Still not sure what the language is because it is not Inglese. So if you could, hey, you threw it to me in Spanish, I might be able to translate it. But, because I only had, 4 years of Spanish class. College didn't have us teach every language. I'm not a member of the CIA, so I can't memorize every language. It's not part of my podcast. Anyway, I will answer your question if you can put it in English text. Here, I'll help you out with it. Please type in English. There you go. Now, see that text? I'm going to put it up there on the screen for you so that you guys can see that. You see that, buddy? Please type in English. Then I can read it and answer your questions. If it looks like that, I can take good care of you. Here we go. Min os becho grapero elamen. Okay, well, he tried to hit me with some Spanish. That's cute. I said trolls are welcome. I did say that. I don't know what Ozabeco is, and I think Gapera is graping, and then Alaman is alarm, right? Somebody help me translate that. Somebody translate until I can get a translation. Trump's history is not as entirely true as people think. Trump's father, Fred Trump, was indeed wealthy, but he also had some big failures, and Trump had to learn from those failures. So the public perception is that Trump's wealth was handed to him on a plate, but the reality is that he had his fair share of struggles. One of the biggest challenges Trump faced was the failure of his Atlantic City casinos. He had a bunch of money to have a casino to fail in that, though. The Taj Mahal, Trump Plaza, and Trump Marina were all casualties of his risky business ventures. Also, he had millions of dollars to invest in those things. Half of us will have a failed attempt at buying a car, and that just screws us for the rest of the next 5 to 10 years. So you can understand, first time you get a repo, you can't buy a house, you can't do anything. Your credit's all jacked up. You don't have anybody to borrow under. He had it a little easier. As a rich person, he probably had it. He probably had it hard for a rich person, but in comparison to the bottom 99, he didn't. There it is. He says, I wrote that I can communicate in 3 languages at once, but unfortunately, I haven't learned English yet. Oh, that is perfectly fine. I understand. I am very patient with the fans. So if I think because I can give it to you in text, sometimes you can take my English text and translate it to another language, copy and paste style. But I read English more than any other language because that is my first language. So I can read some Spanish, and I can read a little bit of Cantonese and traditional Japanese text, specifically because the largest majority of my clientele is coming from Asia. So I learn what I have to learn in order to make money, but I don't memorize every single language. So when you threw that up there, I saw it and I was like, oh, not as good as I thought it was, which isn't a failure on your part. It's a failure on my part. But, you know, I really appreciate you coming to the show. What country are you coming from? Special shout out to your country. Put your country on the map. What is it? DJ is back. He said hard for a rich person is goofy. It must have been really hard to forfeit shame. You don't know Japanese. That was kanji, bro. Okay. Sister DJP. No, I do not know every single language. And I explained that about 15 minutes ago when the man first started texting on the thing. I could tell which one it was. That's why I asked him to type it in English. So don't try to sit here and make it seem like I knew what I was talking about when I was claiming the language that I was talking about. I said that I'm learning some of the languages because of some of the languages that I have to encounter for my career, which had nothing to do with the language he spoke to me in, which is why I told him to speak to me in English. So don't try to pretend like you're going to correct me today on a non-misconception. I said that I do know a little Japanese and I do know a little Chinese and I do know a little Cantonese based on my experiences with my clients. But you're telling me that that is kanji, and I did not say that I know that. I said that is the language that I am not familiar with. And you're going to tell me which is kanji. Okay. You're a big fan of splitting hairs, sir. You're a very big fan of splitting hairs. I don't know. Before you have the opportunity to try to defraud my character, I clearly make the statement that on that topic I am not familiar with. While I have a little experience with it on a need to experience basis, that I'm not fully aware of that, which is why I asked him to divert to a language that I am most familiar with. And then you're going to correct me on the language. Well, I appreciate you trying to educate somebody on the different plethora of languages in Asia. If I was trying to give facts and information about Asia and I was performing a misconception where I was giving the fans something different than what was actually the truth, then by all means, I would expect you to correct me on that. But when I say I don't know what that is, and then you tell me, oh, you don't know other languages because that's not Japanese, that's kanji. I did not ask what it was. I asked him where he was from, though. He could have told me what country he was coming from. He told me he hasn't learned English yet. He could tell me which country he's coming from. That would help, you know. You're definitely a special one, DJ. You're definitely a special one. I mean, I believe that the moment that I put up something that is a complete misconception of the truth or reality, and you actually call me out on that, I will be able to give you a bronze star. You know, I might even be able to PayPal you some money. But as it stands right now, bro, everything I come off of is facts. And when I know that I don't know it, the first thing I say is, I don't know that. I'm not familiar with it. So if I don't know it and I'm not familiar with it and I misstate it because I said that I don't know it and I'm not familiar with it, then guess what? I wasn't supposed to know that. So how am I going to get it right? You only know what you don't know when you experience a situation that requires you to know it. Once you realize you don't know that, that's when you start trying to put effort into trying to know it. But learning a language is hard, isn't it? I never said that I was fluent in 12 different languages. I said that I can kind of understand some of the things that my clients tell me, and I can kind of understand some of the things that my clients type to me, but I'm not familiar with. And it didn't even look like he sent it to me in Spanish because I told him that I might be able to decipher it in Spanish, but he sent it to me in languages in text that I was not familiar with. But I do agree with your conception here when you're like, hard for a rich person is goofy. Millionaires, like, look, they got their own troubles. So people say that, Donald Trump is a self-made man, and I say that he was born with a golden spoon in his ass. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. He did make himself a billionaire. He was a millionaire at one point in time. He did make himself a billionaire. He did, but he had millions to fall back on to make that move. He had more money than his wife when his wife was worth $50 million. So the fact is that if he got married to a rich woman because he was rich, he's able to invest. He's able to take massive losses because he's able to invest big quantities of money. Then once he starts learning from investment mistakes, he's able to make investment profits, and he ultimately made more profits in his lifetime than what he lost in his lifetime. Then when he figured out that he could loan himself money and pay himself back on the interest of that money over time in mass quantities, he figured out a way to get past the system in ways that we have not even thought about yet. We don't even take this knowledge down and say, wait, I can loan myself money and actually paying off a loan would be tax deductible. What? You're telling me, wait, my LLC can loan me cash money so that I can pay for shit, and then my W-2 money could be tax deductible off the debt? We don't talk about that kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis. But see, when I bring that stuff to the show, DJ, you don't come and tell me, oh, this is how you can save yourself some money or make yourself some money or invest yourself some money. You're going to be the first person to tell me that I can't identify one of the three languages that this person put up there that's not English. Help me make it make sense, buddy. You're supposed to be helpful. At least to them. If you're going to heckle me. I love it. But if you're going to heckle me, at least help the fans. Because I can tell you that with all the research that I put, there's a 58-page document sitting here on my desktop here that I'm going to go over with you people. And I had to research that before the show. And I do this type of effort every day, 365 days a year. There are no shows that I air that I did not research the information on. And since I'm doing a different topic every day, every week, 10 o'clock till almost midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, every day, I am actually learning something new every day before I teach it to you guys. And I piece it all together. And then I show you the ups and downs of it. And based on the information that I gave you, you don't have to just believe me. You can just take it and go and do your research and then confirm that what I told you was true. Because I usually end up with like 20 or 30 sources before I get started. You said, oh, you claim to know a little. I said, I claim to be familiar with. And you like guy post kanji and you didn't recognize it. Therefore, you know less than a little Japanese. No, that's not true. That's not true. That you have first of all, you have different languages in the same country, inside of the same area. You have hold on. First of all, you've got the people in China, the people in Japan, the people in Taiwan. You got the people in Hong Kong, and you got the people on the north side that speak a different variation of the same language on the people on the south side. You've got the people in Korea, North Korea, and South Korea, and all of those people are all in Asia. And these people are all intermingling with one another, and there's the cross blend of dialogue between all of these different subcultures inside of the same continent, which is a bunch of different countries. And then you're going to try to correct me on one of many variations, because truthfully, sir, over there in Asia, between China, Japan, and Hong Kong, there are Cantonese individuals, which is what I was presenting. There is your traditional Chinese text, your simple Chinese text. You also have the South Korean over the North Korean, which is Korean text. And then there are other areas of Japanese and Chinese and Taiwanese that I am not familiar with, but there are most of them that I have seen before. That one might have not have been one of them, but I told him from the gate, talking English. So again, it makes you feel better to try to make it seem like I don't know something after I already said that I don't know it. So a little Japanese was a lie. No, sir. A little Japanese was not a lie, because a little Japanese could be as little as saying hi, how are you, or thank you, or goodbye, and that's still a little Japanese. A little Japanese could be um, formal or informal greetings. A little Japanese could be the name of Japanese artist or song maker, or Japanese song, or Japanese words. A little Japanese is just a little Japanese. You know, it does not have to be a full-on statement. It could be one word. It's still a little. It's not enough to formulate a conversation. And as I said when I first started talking about that particular conversation, was that I'm more to the tune of understanding what was said based on the clients that I talked to, not so much the writing, which is exactly why I said type it in English. And now you want me to say, hey, hi, how are you? I tell you what, you say anything besides arigato. No, I tell you what, you tip me, I'll pay. I'll say something besides arigato. So how about that? You want me to throw down on the podcast? If you want me to show me some gifts, show me some donations to support the cause, and then you'll get to see something. I might talk to you in Spanish. Over here testing. You want to test my knowledge. I find that entertaining. I don't get why you would do that, though, because we're sitting over here talking about money making money for us, the economy being impacted by the decisions that was made with the tariffs, and you're like, oh, say something in Japanese. I find that to be super hilarious. I find that to be super hilarious. I don't know. I figure throw 5 down. Throw 5 down. I'll come up with something appropriate. Throw 5 down. What I'll wait. Ah. In the meantime, you made the claim. Well, you're gonna call me out. And yeah, that doesn't work for me, bro. I take challenges at a cost. So I take challenges at a cost. You throw down, soon as I see it, I'll put it up there on the screen. I got you. So you're calling me out, I'm calling you out too. This is a podcast about bettering yourself and bettering your abilities to make money. I come here to share knowledge and wealth to individuals, and I also share money-making opportunities. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to entertain trying to prove to you that I know 3 words in Japanese, and that is some. I don't need to know a whole phrase. I don't need to know a whole sentence. I need some. That's it. And the fact is that if I can do that for you, you will have to accept the fact that I do know something. And if I gave you 1 word, so you calling me out, I'm calling you out. Don't better yourself by lying. Well, no, I don't have to better myself by lying. I tell the truth. The truth is that I'm not fluent in the language. The truth is that I cannot read the text, as I said before. The truth is that I am aware of the language when I communicate with my clients, and most of my clients are in Asia. So the truth is that language in text I am not familiar with, which is why I asked him to translate in English. So you prove to me that you are legitimately trying to educate somebody on some stuff by throwing your challenge down. Put up some bucks. Put some bucks up. I'll talk to you in Japanese, because I never said that I was fluent in Japanese. And now you want me to prove to you that I know at least 1 word in Japanese. That's what you want me to prove to you, that I at least know one word. You didn't even recognize the type of text. And that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change anything. Why would I need to know what type of text? That does not change. That changed nothing with relation to us discussing today about making money, make money for us. So, open challenge. No, you're not going to do it. All right. Invest in, you're going to have to spell that. Recently, you get on that. Nah, I don't get on that. Either way, PLTR. Who's PLTR? Who's PLTR? It's not a stock option, so I'm not familiar with it. What's up? Who's PLTR? It is indeed. What is that? I'm lost, buddy. You had so back to the topic, since he's not jumping on a challenge. We're gonna go back to the topic. What is that? What hit? Nope. All right. So we're going back to Trump's major setbacks. He was always managed to bounce back. Another of the misconceptions is that Trump's wealth is solely due to his inheritance. While it is true that his father left him a substantial amount of money, Trump has also made some shrewd business deals to grow his empire. For instance, he turned a loss-making hotel in Panama into a profitable business. That is actually a pretty good turnout. Palantric Technologies. Interesting. I'll have to look into that one. Up 20% today. Okay, so if it's up 20% today, he's just going to draw a random stock out of the air, y'all. Okay, cool. So Palantir Technologies up 20% today. What is the stock value? What is the buy-in share? It's up 20% today. What's its average distribution? No, man. I asked if you heard of it. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You did not ask me if I heard of it. You, in fact, said invested in PLTR recently. You get on that. You did not ask me if I knew about it. So, since you did not ask me if I knew about it, I have not yet. You get on that is not, are you aware of that? You heard about it? Familiar? Understand it? What's your take on it? Who's splitting hairs? Hey, you, captain of splitting hairs. You asked me if I get on that. I'm not familiar with that particular stock. You're saying that it's $100, so it went up 20%. So you're telling me that it was what? It's valued at $100 now, and it did a 20% increase, or was it valued at $100 and it went up 20%, which puts it at around $120? Or if it's a 20% dividend on the $100, because that actually does make a difference. Is it up 20% where the buy-in price has increased, or does it have an increase in dividend distribution? That's something that you got to really think about, the difference between the two. Because if it's a 20% distribution today, then that $100 is giving you $20. It's at 100-ish now. So that's a dividend payout. Because I know that when I looked at the top 10 dividend payouts, a 20% dividend payout, I would have seen that. I would have been talking about that today. The highest dividend payout is a REIT. One of the highest paying REITs is Orchid that I've been telling y'all about. That's actually $8.01 a share as of this past week. And there's one right below it, American something or other, that's 15% dividend payout. And that one is an $18.79 per share buy-in, which is almost double. Well, actually, it's almost triple. It's more than double. It's almost triple the REIT that I was talking to you guys about before. But if you got to pay 3 times as much to get a 15% per share payout, when you can buy 3 times more shares at $8 a share and get 18% back, where both REITs are paying out monthly, and Orchid has been around for over a decade, so it's actually more reliable, because it actually increased in profits while California was burning to the ground. I mean, you're telling me that it went up. I mean, it looks good. I'll go look. I'll go look. PLTR. I'll go take a look after the show, and I'll see what it's about. And if it's worth talking about, then I'll bring it to the show either tomorrow or Wednesday, when I start talking about some newly uncovered stocks that has made some different changes in our economy. So, hitokoto. Now, back to the main topic, though. Trump also managed to sell his Trump Towers apartments for a whopping $90 million. And he actually's got some in Florida also. He's got some Trump Towers. He's got quite a few of them out there on Miami Beach. I went down there to South Miami and experienced a few of those. That was pretty cool. The point is, Trump's wealth is not just because of his inheritance. It's also because of his business acumen. So Trump's brand is another highly misunderstood aspect of his wealth. People think that his brand is just a bunch of flashy buildings and golf courses, but it's much more than that. Trump's brand represents luxury, power, and exclusivity, and the people are willing to pay top dollar for that. His branding strategy has been instrumental in his financial success, and we'll explore that in more detail in a bit. Moving on, let's talk about Trump's business strategies and investments. One of the key takeaways from his success is his ability to diversify his investments. He's got his fingers in many pies, from real estate to entertainment and even politics. Trump's investment in the WWE, for instance, was a smart move. Hold on a second, guys. He bought into the company when it was struggling, and today it's a global phenomenon. That was when Trump was starring on the WWE, when he was making it rain Trump dollars before his first political campaign. Failed steaks, failed magazines, failed schools. Are you talking about all the things that Trump failed at? Yeah. To be a multimillionaire at birth, it's easy to fail at a lot of things financially and still have you a little bit of money going around to make you to bounce back. But for the average person who's living from paycheck to paycheck, you lose a $20,000 investment, you fucking broke. You're not putting your hands on no multi-million-dollar investment, because you need your own house, you need a running car, you need transportation to get your kids places. Some of us got females that spending way more money than what they're investing in the family, and there's just too much money coming out of the house than it is for us to make it. Yeah, it's hard for a rich guy like MC Hammer broke. MC Hammer, I think, still got $5 million wealth to his name right now after going bankrupt. Between $5 and $50 million still to his name. So he's broke rich, but so he would be lower class in the top 1%. But that doesn't mean that it's hard in comparison to the rest of us that are struggling to make more than minimum wage. Is it hard because he's not good at money? I agree with that. He wasn't good at money. He had a lot of money to lose while he was fucking up. I agree with you on that. And because he was able to learn from his mistakes before he went MC Hammer broke, he's now a billionaire. But he had a lot of millions that he could lose in different areas before he actually learned from his mistakes and made himself financially successful. His foray into reality TV with The Apprentice was another stroke of genius. The show was a massive hit, and it helped to rebrand Trump as a successful businessman. So after his ventures, when he went bankrupt, or not bankrupt, when he was making all of those bad business decisions, doing The Apprentice rebranded him as a successful businessman. Trump's ability to market himself is unparalleled. He's created an aura around himself that's both intriguing and intimidating. His brand is synonymous with luxury and power, and people want to be associated with that. Oh, hold on a second. We got a question here. He said, what would you take from his success that you can actually use? Good question. The ability to know how to reasonably invest a quantity of assets that you have to lose and turn out more profits than losses is a strategy that I would like to take from his business ventures. Paying attention to the upcoming turns in markets. One of the things that I would take away from what he's done is things like turning yourself into a walking business. For example, branding yourself. Everything that you do is in the interest of your brand or your name or your identity, which would then lead to your ability to make your name makes money for you. Again, as a walking business, which also builds you credit on your name, which also gives you more clout, which also gives you the ability to get stuff without having to pay for it, because people will give it to you so that you can promote it for free, because if somebody sees you with it, other people will buy it, kind of thing. Part of being an influencer. And he says, so like, what are you going to do per his example? But what are you going to do first? Well, first of all, the thing is that you have to start somewhere. I love this. Big talk, this and that. Exactly. So big talk. We're going to start off by, you have to create yourself some kind of company, because I mean, you can make your personal name as far as your social media channel to go with it, and that's pretty much it. But all of the tax benefits are under C corporations. Particularly, you do have some tax deductions on LLCs, but primarily it's mostly benefiting C corporations. In fact, when you're dealing with 501c3 donations, you get 10% of your income is tax deductible if you donate that income to a 501c3. So if you have, like Donald Trump has a nonprofit, you donate to your nonprofit. Then when you do charitable acts, you can do those charitable acts with the money that you donated to your nonprofit, and then get credibility for doing charitable acts, which actually builds yourself more credit in society, because you are a philanthropist by taking care of individuals with less money. But really all you're doing is not giving any money to the US government. You're giving money to the people in need, which is the same as I've told people, instead of giving your 10% to the church, if you gave your 10% to the public that is suffering because the church ain't taking care of the public, then the public wouldn't be suffering as much. The same way I told you that if you've got kids in public school, instead of wasting your money in a private school for them to mistreat your kid because your kid got in there on a scholarship, it would give you the ability to donate to your public school, and boost the quality of your public school, especially if all parents did that, which will give your kids better accessibility to stuff. And then that is a tax write-off. Oh, and let me correct you, because he's going to tell me that's fraud. No, it's not fraud. Actually, any 501c3 is a publicly funded nonprofit organization. And as long as that organization is doing charitable acts for the general population, and you are not getting personal monetary gains from those charitable acts, like that pastor that bought that $52 million house and had those 3 jets and spent $10,000 on Louis Vuitton clothes for himself. If you're not doing that, that is a fraud. But if you donate money to a 501c3, he asked me again, what is a 501c3? A 501c3 is a nonprofit organization, and that nonprofit organization is an entity that is publicly funded. That publicly funded entity does charitable acts for the community or the neighborhood or society as a whole. And you can do anything from feeding the homeless. You can do housing, because they got a lot of grants out there for nonprofits to develop high risk infrastructure, cities and neighborhoods and stuff. And you would be able to put money into the nonprofits, and you would be able to utilize that capital to take care of society. And as long as you're doing something for somebody else with the money that comes from that nonprofit would be able to take care of other individuals. And the guidelines, so he's asking me, do I run one? Yeah, I actually do run one. And the fact is that when you run one, sir, you got to know all the ins and outs about that, because you can't break any laws with that. When you run one, you're able to take the nonprofit and you're able to do work for other people. So you're taking money out of your pocket. Remember, I did the show 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was talking about how you could be doing a community garden, you could be doing community cleanup, you could create a community center for the kids, learning centers where you're paying private teachers and stuff. The money that's coming out of your pocket to do this non-for-profit work, because you have to understand that even if you establish a 501c3 under a tax identification number, that 501c3, if it is making more profits from taxable income than 76%, more than 75 to 76%, because you got to make like 34% of donatable money in order for the rest of it to be tax exempt. If you're making more than 76% of the money that your nonprofit brings in is taxable income, then you got to pay taxes on the money. But if you're making less than that, then the money that is being donated to the nonprofit, actually 100% of the money is nonprofit. So more profit on a nonprofit, you say? Yes, actually, a nonprofit can generate revenue. A nonprofit can have rental properties. A nonprofit can have sales. As long as the money that's coming in from the nonprofit, there are donations on top of the money that's being earned. Because first of all, nonprofits have to make money to pay for the overhead to do the charitable work. And then society will donate to that nonprofit because of the charitable work. Then the nonprofit will take the donations from the charitable work and take care of the community in a larger fashion. That can be a tax deduction, because if you're doing stuff for the community and you're donating money to a recognized and registered 501c3 entity, that 501c3 entity is tax deducted against the money that you owe on your personal income. If you have an LLC, LLCs do not get tax exemptions from charity works, but your personal income can get a tax deduction on charity works, and your LLC can get corporate deductions that are passed through to you off of your W-2 income if you are a W-2 worker. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff involved with that. And that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump was paying settlements and stuff like that with his nonprofit money, because he donates his money to his nonprofit, and then his nonprofit takes care of stuff that is not supposed to be taken care of from the nonprofit. The same way he gave money to his lawyer, and then his lawyer was paying for prostitutes, but he didn't give money to his prostitutes. So technically he didn't pay for prostitution. His lawyer did. So donations are profits. Yes, donations are profits. Donations are non-tax profits, because those donations end up going towards the society. For example, take cancer research. They technically, the company itself, the cancer research charity itself, does not turn a profit, because out of the money that goes to cancer research, 97% of it goes to the faculty and staff. Only about 7% of it, or 3% of it, goes towards the actual research itself. So the millions of dollars a year that goes towards cancer research, out of that, probably only a few $100,000 of it actually gets utilized towards the actual research itself. The rest of it is paying for the faculty and staff, the buildings that it operates. A nonprofit has to pay for its overhead, the utilities, the infrastructures that the nonprofit owns or operates, whether it's leasing of a location or having to pay mortgages on it. Places like the Goodwill is technically a nonprofit organization, but they have thrift stores all over the place where they're selling clothes for profit. People donate stuff to the Goodwill, and then Goodwill sells it back to people after they give individuals a tax exemptable voucher for the value of the stuff that they can sell. So you can give a card to the Goodwill and they can give you the Blue Book value as a donation to the Goodwill. You can write that off on your taxes. They're going to sell that car for market value, and then somebody buys a car on the cheap. Goodwill pockets the money, but you got to understand, they donated assets more than the profits that they made off of what they sold. And Goodwill can take that money and do Habitat for Humanities. They can do Salvation Army stuff. They can do rehab centers. And the money is going towards a more expensive nonprofit venture. They can earn money to do that. So yes, if you create a C corporation and you create a 501c3 corporation, and they're both separate from one another, especially if you've got a homeboy or a partner where one of you can head the one company and the other one can head the other company, you guys can do a joint venture together. And especially if you're doing a real estate business and a nonprofit that is also in real estate, you can get joint ventures together where you get grants from the nonprofit to do the real estate and loans from the for-profit to do real estate, where the nonprofit gets paid from the for-profit to do the venture, and then the for-profit sells it off for profit. They also have the opportunity where executive members in the nonprofit organization that's putting in more than 40 hours a week, or more than 35 hours a week in a nonprofit, can actually get paid off of the nonprofit up to 5% of the total quantity of money donated to the nonprofit. Now, keep in mind, a lot of nonprofits are clearly required to have, not required to, but expected to have up to 10 members on a board. So 5% of the revenue is being divided 10 ways. So it's not like it's a lot of money, but I mean, if there's a few $100,000 there and 10 people are dividing a few $100,000 there, that's supposed to go towards the executive board, each person could potentially make between $50,000 and $100,000 a year if they have that much of, 5% of the whole quantity of money that's donated to the nonprofit goes towards the executive board. So if somebody donated $1 million to a nonprofit, the executive board of the nonprofit can pay themselves out of that 5%. So out of $1 million, 5% of that is what, $50,000? So yeah, that's how that works. But if you got 10 people there and you're dividing $50,000, you say that's disgusting, but didn't I just tell you that cancer research, out of the dollar, every dollar you give them, almost 93 to 97% of it goes to the staff, and only 3 to 7% of it goes to the actual cancer research. So out of $10 million, cancer research probably only gets like 700,000, because the rest of it goes to the faculty and staff and the structures and stuff. Relay for Life, all that money that you're donating to cancer research, and when you're donating it in small increments where you don't even get a voucher to write it off on your taxes, so that you could try to hope that somebody lives a longer life from the increase in cancer research and improvements in the technology and development of cancer medicines. And you've got CEOs of nonprofit organizations that are making bank off of those Relay for Life shirts, the cancer research shirt, the cancer sticker, the cancer license plate, making bank off of that stuff, bro. You got billionaires. So why do you think they're billionaires, bro? They play to medicine plays on the sick. Medicine isn't for the healthy. Medicine is playing on the sick because the body heals itself. So the medicine just treats the symptoms until you feel better, until your body heals itself. They don't offer you cures in America. Magic Johnson went to Asia to get rid of his AIDS symptoms, but they don't do that here in America. They sell you on treating the symptoms. That's how people make money. So that's what nonprofits that do stuff for the community, are nonprofits that are seen out there doing stuff. Building houses, taking people off the streets, helping them find jobs, buying them clothes. Most of the time, you see some of the smaller nonprofits just bringing people food and blankets and clean clothes. That's all you see them do. That's all you see them do. You see people like Kevin Kaepernick out there, $250,000 worth of feeding the homeless. He ain't fixed nobody's apartment. He didn't build nobody a place to live where they could get off the damn street. He didn't hire them and give them jobs so that they wouldn't be homeless no more. He just brought everybody a meal on his birthday, and they're like, oh, he's so selfless. Instead of him taking for his birthday, he's giving. $250,000 worth of food once in your life is not going to change these homeless people's lives. It's just going to give them a meal for today. And it's going to build you a massive reputation as a philanthropist. That's what millionaires do. How many rich people go back to their home country, their hometown, with their born poor? They made it rich. How many of them go back to their hometown and buy their hometown and rebuild it? Not many of them. Not many of them. And you say that's disgusting. What an effing racket. Yeah, it is a racket. And you're saying, no, it is all nonprofits, sir. It is all nonprofits. The smaller nonprofits are more honorable than the bigger nonprofits. The smaller nonprofits barely have enough people to operate the nonprofit if they can break even where they're not taking their own bill money, because it's usually the honorable nonprofits are run by poor people. So they're trying to give more than they get. They're not trying to cut a paycheck for themselves. The poor people are trying to take care of other poor people. So the more money and resources they get in, the more people they can help. They feel validated by being known for helping a larger quantity of people where they're not actually making a dollar off of their efforts. You're only going to get that from the poor people. A billionaire standing in a McDonald's drive-through shoveling fries so that he can get paid the 500% interest off of his first campaign. He ain't did that for the sake of the working class. He did that as a publicity stunt to win the votes for the working class. It worked. But what's he getting, like $250,000 a year as president, plus all the money from his multi-billion-dollar campaign that has to pay him back 500% on the last, what was it, $50 million or $50 billion loan he took out on himself in 2017 that he's paying himself back at 500% interest since 2017. So a billionaire paying a billionaires. That's what I was saying. You asked me, what would I take away from Donald Trump? That's what I would take away from Donald Trump. If I can loan somebody money, somebody I know money, and they pay me back with interest, I have just learned something from Donald Trump, because these days we lend our friends and family members money. We lend our girlfriends and our boyfriends and our husbands money. We lend them our stuff for absolutely nothing. You know that a rental car contract applies to your friend or family member borrowing your car. You can rent your car out to the people. Let me use your car for the day. All right, by the mile, by the hour. And turn a you know how many people will not ask you for shit? But that's the way life goes. And you're going to say, oh, good night, man. Nice talking to you. This is depressing. Well, I wasn't going to talk about that today, but that is life. That is the facts of life. You are not going to find one nonprofit that is 100% out there taking 99% of their money and putting it on the actual nonprofit itself, if it is not a small up-and-coming nonprofit. If it is a big name nonprofit, name one, and then go and find the executive board, and then go and find their salaries. Do you know that you can Google right now salary for executive board member of a charity, and they have a monetary value for that? That's because there are people who get paid to represent the nonprofit, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year per person, to be the board members that makes decisions for, not the people that do the footwork, the people who make decisions for the nonprofit. Did you know that you can have over 100 people invest in a nonprofit as shareholders? And now the shareholder, now the nonprofit not only is taking donations so that they can do stuff for the community, they're also taking those donations to pay off the shareholders that invested in a nonprofit. So the nonprofit, it's a business venture, it's a tax-free business venture, but it's just like the church. You know, the church is just like a nonprofit. You donate your money to the church, it can be considered a tax deduction if you can get a voucher from the church that you donate to the Lord, and then you give that to the IRS and tax deduction. Now, difference between the church and a 501c3 is that the church doesn't have to tell the state how much money the church makes. The state doesn't audit the church unless somebody can show that somebody in the church is misappropriating church funds. They'll audit that person, but they won't audit the church itself. The state is exempting the church from accountability. So you also have to understand, yeah, that's the way life works. So Donald Trump's got his own nonprofit and 2 or 3 other businesses. Joe Biden, he's got 2 or 3 other businesses. He's partnered with his son. And while he was the president, him and his son was doing international business together. They were trying to take him to court for that, try to get him impeached for that. Donald Trump's got his own businesses and he's a president. So while Donald Trump is president, his businesses are recognized as federal government style businesses. You also can, even though it's not officially, that's how they would be recognized. You would also understand that if any of Donald Trump's businesses want to do business through the U.S. government, guess who's going to sign off on that? So while most contractors would be trying to do business with the United States, would have to be vetted because it is the president's companies, they ain't got to be vetted. Donald Trump could just refer them, sign a couple pieces of paper, and his companies are making money. And as a primary investor in his companies that are working for him, his companies will make money for him. Another thing that I would take away from Donald Trump, I invest in the companies that I spend my money with. That makes more sense. Because if I'm going to pay you, I might as well get paid from you making money. Because if I like it and other people like it, then I should get money back off of investing in you. So my phone company, light, gas, water company should be investing in those. The dealership that I buy all my cars from should be investing in those. You should be a stakeholder in all of that shit. That way you're turning out dividends on a regular basis. You should have contracts out. You know, that way the business can expand itself. You can turn a profit off of the expansion. But what Donald Trump did that most people don't do is look at something with potential and then say, okay, I'm going to take a chunk of my change that I got on the side and I'm going to invest in that to be more successful so that I can get paid off of their effort. That's what Donald Trump did. I'm going to get paid off of their effort by offering them enough money to expand. If I could invest in the WWE, I would. Even if I can't invest a lot, if I could go to WrestleMania just so that I could talk to Vince McMahon about offering him a few $100,000 so that I could be a small-time shareholder of the WWE and potentially be mentioned every now and again on the show, even if I'm not there, you know, I would do it because it would give me publicity. It would boost my podcast. I would get special treatment because I'm part of the company. I'd be able to show up and show out as long as I don't negatively impact the company's success. And just like speed, you understand? Everything is about business. So when you tell me that, you know, oh, this and that is talking big game. Yeah, we're talking big game because we're talking about impressive ways for us to go from being small time nobodies to big time success. But it's got to start somewhere. So I spent the last 7 months talking to you guys about ways to start up and get started. And ways to start up and ways to get started are 2 different things. Because you have to put your mind to getting out there, getting off your ass and doing something with yourself. And then you have to put your effort into getting it started. Once you get it started and things start happening, that's when you start getting money. That's when you start using that money to do other stuff. And all the way around, your money makes money for you. Now, as I was talking about before, one of the most impressive things about Trump's business strategies is his ability to monetize his brand. So he's managed to make millions from licensing his name, creating Trump branded products, and even selling Trump branded steaks. Like you said, his steaks were a failure. What else did you say was a failure? You said, let's go back up there, because you were like, oh yeah, you said that he had a failed steaks, he had a failed magazine, he had a failed school. I didn't even know Donald Trump had a school. So I learned something from you this time. One, Donald Trump had a school. I guess it was called Trump College, and it trumped. So apparently he had that. Another key aspect of Trump's financial success is his ability to think outside the box. And that's something else that I am starting to emphasize on this podcast, is that we've got to find another way, instead of working for somebody else, to make money for them and not be able to survive on our own as inflation is about to kick us in the teeth. I'm telling you that you guys got to start working towards making money for yourselves, because later today we're going to be talking about how this situation with the tariffs that will lead to inflation, that will lead to increased wages, which will lead to automation taking over the workforce, where humans will no longer have the accessibility to regular paying jobs. We're going to be talking about all of that today. All of that is a trickle-down effect from a decision made from a billionaire that negatively affects the hourly wage worker. Now, one of the things we have to understand, Trump has never been afraid to take a risk, and that's what made him so successful. It also is one of the reasons why he's been so much of a failure in the starting half of his life. But as I've said before, when people like DJ want to come up and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, you cannot be the guru of advice if you didn't fuck your life up to begin with. So you have to have already made a significant quantity of mistakes to be able to recognize the changes that needed to be made in those mistakes, so that you did not make those mistakes again, which then means that you could potentially give other people advice on how to never make that mistake to begin with, so that they don't have to go through the recovery phase you went through, so that they could be more successful than you was when you started, which will lead them to be more successful in a shorter period of time, which will aid them in more excessive success. A drug addict can tell you how not to get on drugs better than the DARE program can. A parent can tell you why not having kids is important to your own personal success and free time and development. You know, a person that is not in a stable relationship can tell you what you need to look for in an unstable relationship. An individual that has been divorced can tell you what it takes to manage not getting divorced. He might not be able to tell you what it takes to manage a proper marriage, but he can tell you what not to do to lead you to the divorce. People learn from mistakes. You can get knowledge from anywhere. And that's what I try to tell DJ tonight. He's not always understanding it, but it is the case. You must listen to the people around you, because they will help you with stuff that you did not think existed. And that's just the way it is. Now, Trump had invested in the Miss Universe pageant, and that was a bold move. At the time, the pageant was struggling. And this is something that Trump usually does. Trump usually invests in something that is struggling, so because it has potential to be successful, which is what I tell women all the time. You find a man that is struggling and has potential to be successful, and if you invest in the right man, he will be successful, and then his wealth will become your wealth. That's a Donald Trump method. If you find something that has potential to be more successful than what it is, and you invest in that, you're likely to see the success of their success. WWE success makes Trump richer. The pageant success makes Trump richer. But just like the failed steaks and the failed magazines, he invested in something that he thought was going to be good, and it flopped on him. So you have to understand that if you fail 30 times, you still got to try again. But you have to manage the ability to invest. And when Trump saw that opportunity, he turned it around. And today's Miss Universe organization is a multi-million-dollar business because he invested in it when it was struggling. One of the most surprising secrets about Trump's wealth is that he's not afraid to fail. In fact, his failures have often led to some of his biggest successes, which is why me not knowing how to speak multiple languages turns me into a success, as I actually slipped him a Japanese word that meant one word. He didn't even pick up on it. Now, one of the things that Trump did, his Atlantic City casino, it failed. He lost millions, but instead, he didn't give up. That experience helped him create a new strategy for his casino in Las Vegas that is still successful. Those casinos are some of the most profitable ones in the country. So the biggest misconception about Trump's wealth is that it's all about the money, and that's not necessarily the case. While the money is certainly important, it's not the only thing that drives Trump. He's driven by a desire to build something lasting, something that will leave a legacy. And that's what's made him so successful. He's not just about making a quick buck, he's about creating something that will last for generations to come. So the tax policies that he put into place that's going to impact the average everyday individual. High income households are going to experience those tax cuts that are extending from 2017, and the Tax Cuts Job Act would preserve the reduced corporate tax rates at 21% and income tax cuts for top earners. And the wealthiest 1% could save $36,320 annually under the proposed extension. The capital gains that we'll be dealing with when scrolling back or scaling back the taxes on investments like dividends and stocks and buybacks disproportionately benefits high net worth individuals as opposed to the middle and lower income households. The TCJA initially boosted median household incomes by $5,000 and lower the poverty rate to a 50-year low, but the expiration risks of it, if the tax cut sunset in 2025, families earning $75,000 could face a $1,500 tax hike, and the child tax credit would be cut in half. Now, proposed income tax cuts could raise disposable income, increasing discretionary spending temporarily. And discretionary spending means that you got the ability to be more wasteful with your money. Upgrade your car, upgrade your household, upgrade all of your technological devices, start making monthly payments on stuff that you once owned because you got extra money to throw around. That is the poor man mindset. Just because your income increases and your discretionary spending increases, you should not be able or the ability to spend more discretionary capital increases. You should not do that. You should take the extra money that you have and invest it somewhere. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. What are some of the things that we should probably be thinking about putting our money in since the economy is about to take a massive shift? Well, a model by Boston Federal Reserve estimates that wage growth shocks accounted for less than 15% of inflation at the peak of the recent inflation episode in Q1 of 2022. And in recent months, wage growth has actually surpassed inflation rates, where the wage started making it up to almost $40 an hour in some states, where living wage is closer to $45 to $50 an hour in those states, as well as the minimum wage, which is half of living wage across the country. Now, the average hourly wage growth exceeded inflation for 12 consecutive months as of May of 2024, while some sectors may see price increases due to wage hikes, like restaurant prices raising with changes in the wage bill. The overall impact on inflation appears limited. Central bank policies can mitigate inflation pressures from wage increases. A Taylor rule-based monetary policy approach can significantly dampen the effect of wage markup shocks on consumer price inflation. In a multi-sector economy, under-coordinated wage increases across sectors can lead to changes in relative prices, which may partially offset inflationary pressures. The same way the cost of real estate in California is starting to skyrocket, where people are paying 5 to 10 times the cost of living just so that they can get a place to stay because their house burned down. Small scheduled minimum wage hikes tend to have smaller effects on prices compared to large one-time increases. and wage increases are likely to accelerate the AI automated adoption. While increased automation could reduce human employment in certain sectors, we're looking at higher wages, which may incentivize companies to invest more heavily in AI and automated technologies to reduce labor costs. So, industries like manufacturing, financial services, and IT are seeing productivity growth nearly 5 times greater with AI integration compared to less AI integrated sectors. As wages rise, the cost effectiveness of AI solutions become more attractive to employers, potentially leading to faster automation of tasks. Current tax structures in advanced economies make investing in AI more profitable for employers than expanding their workforce, even if AI capabilities don't match human skills. So Goldman and Sachs reported that up to 300 million jobs in the US and Europe could be at risk due to AI advancements. 300 million jobs at risk due to AI advancements, as Amazon and Starbucks employees form a union to demand more money from the company. 2/3 of US jobs may see partial automation, which is why you see in those warehouses in Amazon that is owned by Jeff Bezos with all those forklifts driving themselves. With up to quarter of current tasks potentially being fully automated, we have to understand that lower skilled and incapacitated workers. Why do we have incapacitated workers in the workforce? But people that are on the job that aren't qualified for the job or incapable of doing the job are facing higher probabilities of being replaced by automation. So, with advancements in deep learning and big data analysis, even complex cognitive and creative jobs previously considered irreplaceable may be automated. We already got that $150,000 girlfriend robot that is out there, and people are like, holy crap, who's going to pay for that? Anybody who can buy a Cybertruck can buy a robot girlfriend. I can tell you that out the gate. Oh, by the way, while I talk about the Cybertruck, we're about to get into that tariff conversation. Canada taxed the US, and Cybertrucks coming out of Canada is going to cost an extra $9,000. So the Cybertruck that was once $79,000 hiked up to $100,000 with a $25,000 buy now feature now has an extra $10,000 on it, as Donald Trump gets rid of the $7,500 incentive for solar vehicles. So you're now going to be spending about $134,000 for the Cybertruck that was once valued at $79,000. It is what it is. Now, AI and robotics are expected to have particularly significant impacts on manufacturing jobs. Job postings for AI related positions are increasing 3.5 times faster than the overall job market, indicating a shift toward AI driven roles. However, it's important to note that AI may also create new job opportunities and increase productivity. The World Economic Forum predicts that while 85 million jobs could be displaced by 2025, by the end of 2025, we're looking at 85 million jobs being displaced. 95 million new roles may emerge since he's opened up those oil refineries. PwC reports that AI could enable many nations to overcome low productivity growth, potentially leading to economic development and higher wages. Now, there are deregulation and energy policies where these costs are going to be saved by the average American person. So the deregulation in energy, like shale drilling, is saved the households $2,500 per year on utilities, with low-income families benefiting most at 6.8% of their incomes being boosted. Prescription drugs and internet, reducing the regulations lowered the cost for essentials, providing 8 times greater savings for the bottom 20%. And the bottom 20% is the almost poor, where the top 20% didn't really receive that much. Now, the tariffs, this is where everybody gets kicked in the teeth. Trump's administration has imposed new tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China, effective from February 4th, 2025. Here we have 25% additional tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, 10% additional tariffs on imports from China. It was originally 25% on China. They were taxing the bejesus out of China. I guess he changed his mind. Now, Canadian Energy Resource faces a lower 10% tariff. Now, the retaliation from Canada is that Canada announced the tariffs on the U.S. imports in response to President Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods. This is going to be $155 billion of tariffs, which is equivalent to $106 billion worth of U.S. goods. The implementation will be in 2 phases. First phase is 25% tariffs on about 30 billion Canadian dollars of U.S. imports, effective February 4th. That is tomorrow, not today. Tomorrow. So in like 15 minutes, this is going into effect. Phase 2, the tariffs on additional so 25% tariffs on an additional 125 billion US dollars of goods to be implemented after a 21-day public comment period. I guess they're going to see how the public takes this. There's a 25% tariff on U.S. steel and 10% tariff on U.S. aluminum and various other items. Products affected in the first phase are going to be orange juice, peanut butter, wine, spirits, which is liquor, beer, coffee, appliances, apparel, footwear, motorcycles for Harleys and riders, cosmetics for the ladies, pulp, and paper. Products expected to be increased or impacted in the second phase are going to be passenger vehicles and trucks, including the electric vehicles, steel and aluminum products, including steel and aluminum for real estate development, which is going to increase the cost of real estate development, aerospace products, beef, pork, dairy, recreational vehicles, and boats. So look, I'm running out of stuff to buy that's not going to be impacted by the inflation when products come from Canada. So you're going to start seeing some inflation on prices from distributors, because they're going to offset that tariff cost onto the customer. But that's not where it stops at, because Canada is going to go even further. Some provinces are taking non-tariff actions, such as removing American liquor from shelves and limiting access to provisional procurements for U.S. businesses, where they're not only not going to sell it, your ass can't come and get it. The Canadian government is considering further retaliation measures, including export restrictions on critical materials and energy products, meaning that they're not going to let certain stuff cross the border. These tariffs aim to protect Canadian interests while these tariffs remain in place until the U.S. eliminates the tariffs that they put against Canada. So the effects that the inflation is going to have on consumer access when it comes down to price increases, consumers are likely to bear much of the cost, because most companies offset the majority of their expenses onto the customer by increasing the price of the product. You're also going to have a lower supply of the product, which is going to increase the demand of the product, which is going to increase the value of the product, because you can't get it as easily. And people are selfish and greedy. So if it is hard to come by, but it is still accessible, I'll pay more to get it from the other person. That's how that works. With lower income households disproportionately affected in a negative fashion, we're looking at potential price hikes for various products, from China, we're going to be seeing sneakers, furniture, and toys, where toys are going to be up to 56% increase in the price relative to before. From Mexico, we're going to be experiencing more cars, beer, and avocados. We're going to be experiencing a lot of stuff from Canada, like automobiles, French fries, and winter coats. So McDonald's and Burger King, we're going to be the dollar menu is going to be the $5 menu because inflation is going to kick us in the teeth. That's just what happens. The supply chain disruption is going to be heavily impacted. Also, think about this. With all that offshore drilling in Alaska, unless US decides to put that shit on a boat and sail it from Alaska to California, bring it to America that way, if you start trying to run it through Canadian territory to get it to America through Washington State, Oregon, or Wyoming, South Dakota, something like that, North Dakota, something like that, you're going to be paying tariffs to get into Canada from Alaska and out of Canada into America. So you're do better putting it on a boat and sailing it to California, sailing it in through Texas. This is the stuff that we're not paying attention to. That's going to disrupt the supply chain. So U.S. manufacturers may face higher costs for raw materials and components. Domestic energy producers might benefit short term from the reduced competition, but with us looking at product impacts such as toys going up as much as 80%, where U.S. toys that are imported from China are going to cost a lot more money. A Barbie doll is going to be $20, could cost up to $31.20 for a Barbie doll. Furniture going to be looking at a 30 to 40% increase. Produced in the U.S., but 50% of raw materials imported. Oil, like I said before, with the tariffs on Canadian oil, U.S. imports 40% of crude oil, could disrupt energy markets, which is going to make the light bill go up. It's going to make gas prices go up. Trade patterns are going to shift because Canadian exports to U.S. could decrease by 23%. U.S. exports to Canada could drop by 18%. International trade within both countries likely to increase as a substitute. And we're going to be looking at the economic impact, where projected reduction on goods expenditures, where Canada has 1.8% decline, which is approximately $10 billion. U.S. has a 0.2% decline, which is approximately 7 billion Canadian dollars. And these tariffs are likely to lead to increased inflation and reduce consumer access to certain products, particularly those heavily imported from the affected countries. The impact may vary across different sectors and income levels, with potential long-term consequences for trade patterns and economic growth. Now, the economic growth versus debt concern, because we have a GDP and the wage, where projections suggest a 0.8% GDP rise and 597,000 new jobs in the long term, but wages may stagnate by 2034, which is approximately 9 years from now. The national debt policies could add 2.5 to 4.1 trillion to the deficit, raising debt to GDP from 201% to 223% by 2065. Trump's going to be long since dead by 2065, because that's another 40 years from now. If I am still alive looking at that, nobody's going to say, oh, it's Trump's fault from 40 years ago. No, they're going to blame the current president for the deficit. So he's rolling the dice now, and if it benefits us over the next 10 years, Trump can take a resolve on that. And while we're talking about that, they're talking about the amendment of the Constitution, where presidents, current and future presidents, will be able to run 3 terms. Trump said in his first term that he was going to be trying to run 3 terms in a lifetime. If Trump is more coherent at age 84, he'll be able to do a 3rd term in 4 years, where the next 8 years will be the era of MAGA. Y'all need to start figuring out how y'all gonna invest in shit, because the wealth inequality dynamics are staggering. The top 1% share of taxes paid rose under TCJA, but their net worth grew slower at 15%. And the bottom grew 50% more, which is about 47% increase. So the net worth of the bottom 50% of households increased by 47% currently under Trump's reign, which outpaced dramatically the top 1% increase. But think about this, though. A millionaire getting a 1% increase is getting $1 million. The average American that gets $50,000 to $70,000 gets a 50% increase or 47% increase. You only made if you made $50,000 and you got a 47% increase, you're now making like 75,000. If you were making 70,000 and you got like a 47% increase, you probably gained an extra $30,000 or $40,000, which puts you right around $100,000 to $110,000. So while the bottom 50% of Americans gained almost 50% increase in income versus before Trump's actions, the fact is that them getting 1% of $1 million or them getting 1% of $1 billion is way more than us getting 50% of $50,000 or $75,000. Or the $100,000 person that's getting 50,000, that's getting 50% is going to be $150,000, but the $1 million man is going to get a 1% increase. He's going to get what is that? What, $1,000 extra $100,000 off of his ass? Well, shit, that's like 10%. So it'd be like $1,000 on $1 million, right? Do the math. Like $10,000. That's what it is. $10,000 on $1 million. See, I was trying to do the math in my head. So while, the broke people gained a larger percentage, they gained a smaller quantity of capital. Now, after 2025, the outlook is going to be staggering. If the TCJA expires, the top 1% will see tax cuts while others face hikes, which is going to widen the inequality. If the tax cuts expire, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. Their proposed extensions could strain Social Security and Medicare funding, affecting long-term financial planning. The strategic considerations is that with high earners, you're likely to benefit from capital gains breaks and corporate tax stability. Middle and low earners are going to be dealing with short-term gains from child credits, wage growth, and the risk reversal if policies expire or tariffs trigger inflation. President Trump's executive orders to create a U.S. sovereign wealth fund, which SWF aims to leverage government assets for economic returns, potentially funding infrastructure projects or strategic acquisitions like TikTok. I'm going to tell you guys again, as soon as you find out that TikTok is on NASDAQ for U.S. purchase, you better buy you some TikTok stock. In fact, if you have a way to buy you some TikTok stock while they are arguing about investing in TikTok, where U.S. companies or the U.S. government must own 50% of TikTok for TikTok to operate in American airspace, you should be investing in TikTok stock right now. Find a way to contact ByteDance and find a way to get yourself a share of TikTok stock right now, because as soon as the billionaires take it over, that stock is going to skyrocket. You want to be in there before the billionaires get in there, because once the billionaires get in there, it's going to be hard to buy it. It's going to be out of your range. You're going to have to buy percentage shares. So we're looking at an analyst of the plans that we've got going on. First of all, SWF is going to be monetizing government assets, equity, and stake in companies like TikTok to generate returns for public reinvestment. The leadership is going to be having Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett and Commerce nominee Howard Lutnick to lead the fund's development, targeting a 12-month launch. The TikTok acquisition is going to allow the funds that could facilitate TikTok's purchase either through direct ownership or partnership with private investors. And the funding mechanism is going to be equity stakes. So the government may take warrants or equity in companies it contracts with, such as vaccine manufacturers, as a revenue source. So as the government is going to utilize these companies to create stuff like vaccine manufacturing, they're going to invest in equity stakes in those companies before utilizing those companies. So the profits those companies make off of providing vaccines to the general population every year, that profit's going to go back to the US government. So instead of the government spending money on providing a service to the general population, the government will get paid for providing the service to the US population, because the health insurance is privatized. So that means that the health insurance company is going to pay for the vaccines. So the US government gets paid for the creation and distribution of the vaccines. The average American is going to pay for health insurance for more than one reason, which leads them to taking money out of the middle and lower class, putting it into the pockets of the billionaires. You ask me, what am I gaining from Donald Trump? What did I say earlier? I am going to invest in the shit that I use stock wise, stocks and shares wise. I'm going to start investing in the things that I put my money towards, so that when other people put their money towards the same thing, I get a profit off of that. Instead of just spending money for the sake of spending money, I need to be spending money for the sake of making money. That's a mindset that most Americans don't have. So this and that, talking a big game about teaching people and reminding people that if we have that mindset that we need to make money for ourselves, that is what we need to do. Existing U.S. assets, which are unspecified, would be deployed to generate returns through deficit challenges. 2.5 to 4.1 trillion projected additions will raise questions about additional capital in the forefront, but the potential applications are likely to be beneficial. We're supposed to be looking at SWF's global investment heavily in projects like railways, ports, and highways. For example, Nigeria's $808 million expressway project, and U.S. SWF would be able to address the estimated $67 trillion global infrastructure gap by 2030. Partnering with private entities for large-scale projects, strategic acquisitions for things like TikTok would be able to give them the ability to hold excessive equity in TikTok if its Chinese parent company divests, aligning with national security goals. M&A activity with the Gulf SWFs like ADIA and Muabadala have invested in U.S. firms such as Univar Solutions, Fortress Investment Group, and these are suggesting a level of template for investors. So when he was talking about what was it, PLTR, which was supposed to be, he explained it later, because he was trying to provide a trick of the trade. It's not up here anymore. He probably deleted it. It's up. It should have been up here somewhere. But PLTR is one of the companies that he was talking about that's up 20% today. You have to pay attention to some of the things that the government's investing in, because government's investing things on $1 billion basis. The billionaires are investing in certain things. So the billionaires are investing in certain things. You should probably invest in that too. Do a buy and hold, because that's going to profit you a lot further. The funding uncertainties that we're going to be dealing with is the U.S. faces persistent deficient production in things like the oil-rich SWF nations like Norway and Saudi Arabia. They have very solid oil production where you can invest in the oil stocks there, but America doesn't have the same type of investment platforms. So we're looking at safeguards utilized by transparency, where we need to prevent politicized investments and ensure accountability. Now, the debt concern of the SWF is going to be dealing with the growth and exacerbation of the national debt, because as we've mentioned before, the projected 223% of the GDP by 2026 will lead to an additional $4.1 trillion of deficit. But, that's going to be something that people have to deal with in 40 years. You're looking at certain areas where countries are investing in things like Norway, $1.7 trillion in global equities, bonds, and real estate. The UAE is investing $20 billion in Egypt partnerships like healthcare and infrastructure. Saudi Arabia is investing $20 billion in green hydrogen and domestic mega projects. And we're looking at the US SWFs that emulate these strategic development funds like Saudi Arabia's PIF or Abu Dhabi's ADQ, which prioritizes domestic growth and global influence. So success depends on bipartisan support, sustainable funding models, and clear governance to balance economic returns with public trust. Trump's strategies could amplify wealth for those with capital investments, but pose volatility for wage-dependent households, long-term sustainability that hinges on balancing growth incentives with fiscal responsibilities. So these economic strategies encourage middle and lower income Americans to capitalize on short-term tax benefits while preparing for potential future increases, adjust spending habits to account for possible inflation from tariffs, focus on building wealth through increased job opportunities while remaining cautious about long-term wage growth effects. Consider the impact of potential changes in social programs when planning for retirement and long-term financial security. Though understanding Trump's wealth secrets is crucial in grasping his business success and political career, and it's about understanding his business strategies, his investments, and his branding. It's about realizing that his wealth is not just because of his inheritance, but because of his hard work and determination after screwing everything up for a long period of time. And if we're going to be trying to get into what he's got going on, we got to really start paying attention to what the successful people are doing to be successful and start trying to emulate that on a smaller scale so that we can start becoming successful as well. Make sure that you guys remember to comment down below the way DJP has done today, and give us some information as to what you found most surprising about the investment platforms that are starting to arise from Trump's decision-making processes in the White House. If you want to learn more about Trump's business strategies and investments, be sure to check out some of the other episodes that we're going to be putting out later this month, because we're going to be putting out a show just about every day of the week. And in tune with that, while we're going to be talking about business, finance, and real estate on at least 3 days a week, and then the other 6 days we're going to be talking about self-empowerment and self-improvement, you have to understand that you got to show up and show out with us on a regular basis so that you can learn all of the things that you need to be successful. Because if you put forth the effort into doing things different, you will find a way to make money for you, which will then lead you to a situation where you will find yourself more financially successful in the long run. As we said before, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Because it is a marathon, not a sprint, we're not in a situation where we're trying to put ourselves in a massive quantity of debt in a short period of time, but we are trying to find a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan where hopefully by the time Trump gets out of office, we're millionaires. If he's going to be here for 4 years, within 4 years, we should be a millionaire. I know my buddy, Mr. Pibbs, told me that he wanted to be a millionaire by 2025, and that's not happening. But if I can show Mr. Pibbs how to be a millionaire by 2030, that's accomplishing something. You're skipping pay scales over the course of every year. You're going up $250,000 a year in overall sustainable income. That's a plus. That's a plus. But for some of us that are living paycheck to paycheck, it's a grind. And while it is still a grind, it is still going to be more expenses than we have assets and dividends, which is why we have to invest more. Notice that the top 1% invest all of their money and then take what's left over and pay their bills. If you put enough of your money into high interest stocks and bonds, you could take the dividends off of the high interest stocks and bonds and pay for your standard of living, which then means your entire paycheck goes into your stocks and bonds, and then you spend whatever you get off of your dividends, which becomes a monthly distribution of wealth, as opposed to working until you drop to barely pay the bills. And if you don't have enough, you got to borrow against a stone. You can operate on more than one way with that, because you could not only build enough wealth where you're living off the dividends of the money that you're making off of your stock investments, you can also turn around and take the money that you're working on your 9 to 5 and use that to build your own private investment or private loan company, where you spend more time focusing on ironclad contracts where you're investing a certain quantity of money into individuals. And you want to do short-term loans first, because short-term loans have less restrictions and more opportunities for higher interest rates over time. And you can loan smaller quantities of money to a larger quantity of people, where they're more likely to pay you back within 18 months. So you're less likely to lose out on larger quantities of money, which also puts you in a better position, because then you could do things like those high-risk businesses that they're trying to do a startup and they need to find funding. They'll call you, and then you'll strike a deal with them, do a partnership. I get like 20-30% of the profits from the business, or be a private what do they call that, silent partner in the business. I get 20% ownership of the business and 10% of the profits. I ain't got to do nothing. I invest in your company, and then you can buy me out based on the value of the company once you get off your feet, or once you get on your feet, however you want to look at it. Stuff like that is the same thing that Trump did. When things looked like it was a good thing, he invested in it while it was small. Then when it became big, because he stayed an investor in the company, that now big business is now a massive profit for him. He does not have to work in each one of the companies that he invests in. He puts his money there, and then he makes his money make money for him. And now that he's getting all of this money coming in from all of these other places, he can have that money go into family trust. He can have that money go into corporate trust accounts, and then those trust accounts put it into another trust, and then somewhere along the lines, he's the beneficiary of that, and then the money goes straight into his bank account. He could just take whatever he wants and spend it on whatever he wants. He could call his accountant and stuff gets bought, dropped off at his house, pull up at his current location. He don't need for nothing. And truth, being a billionaire, he don't even need to own a car. He just needs to have somebody come pick him up in one of their cars. But you know what he's going to do? Instead of renting a car from a rental car company, he would invest in a rental car company and then have them send him a car. If he's one of the owners of the company, he could pay them to come and pick him up, but everybody else is getting picked up from that same company he's going to make a profit off of. Take that private security company called Black Wolf. Minority-driven company. Very good business model. You ain't got to go over there and become one of their drivers. You can go over there and be an investor in that particular company, because it's just like Uber, but it's providing you with security transportation. It's only in a limited number of states across the country, but if they could expand their platform and get more drivers, they could be as worldwide as or nationwide as Uber, where you pay a little bit more per ride to be taken somewhere. But if you are in a high risk situation, you've got private security to take you where you got to go. I got to tell you, that is a very fantastic platform to invest in, which if you're going to invest in a company as a shareholder, if not a executive member of the board with voters' rights, if you're going to invest as a shareholder, the money that you put towards a company like that taking off, that company could expand. They could buy more vehicles. They can hire more workers. They could vet more individuals. They could train individuals where they have more individuals that have the skill set to do the job, which will give them more ability to meet a larger demand in a larger area, because billionaires need safety. Millionaires need safety. Anybody who's willing to catch a ride from a casino where they hit it big and they're trying to go home could really use a Black Wolf car to take them there. It's a phenomenal idea. But it takes somebody like us to look at something like that and say, I'm going to invest in it while it's small, so that when it gets big, that I can get profits off of that. Take something like Uber. Find a way to get in contact with an investment portfolio of a broker that's handling Uber stock. Buy yourself some Uber stock. Shit's getting big. Uber drivers are everywhere, replacing the yellow cab. If we're paying attention to stuff like the everyday commodity that we actually pay for, and we start investing in those companies, the dividends that's coming back off of that company is probably going to offset the money that we're paying on using the company, which also means that that's the cost of doing business. And if you're promoting your product, if you're promoting your brand, and your brand is on everything successful, your brand is on everything luxurious, or your brand is on everything that is worth having, every time they see your brand, they're going to get it. They're going to figure it's quality because your name's on it. These are the things that we tell you guys out the gate. As we are walking stock options, we are walking businesses. If we have a business mindset and we build a name for ourselves by being positive in our society and making successful business ventures, we can put ourselves in a position where we will be respected and appreciated and valued, and people will invest in us as a company, as a walking company. Not just have friends tell us, good job, buddy, pat us on the back. Literally have people say, I like what you're doing. I'll give you so much money to promote my product on your platform. I'll pay you to wear my brand. I'll pay you to use my service so that people can see how my service works. That is how you make money for you. Now all you have to do is just live. When you show up, they might give you a car as a demo for free, just so that people seeing you getting in and out of that car, they will pay you, because the company is going to make money off of you being in that car. That's where athletes get their shoe deal. That's where the athletes get their car deal. The rappers get their record labels. Your self-made fame is what they want to promote their product, and they will pay you to promote their product. See, just like Travis Scott. His song is a hit, I think, worldwide right now, because it's being played on WWE, and WWE is playing on Netflix. Travis Scott gets gifted the hardcore title from Triple H, the owner of the WWE. The discontinued hardcore title, authentic, in the possession of Travis Scott. Millionaires making millionaires millions. Something as simple as that, where most of us would pay a few hundred to a couple $1,000s for a replica of the belt. Triple H made an official, authentic hardcore title from the discontinued championship based off of the current design of the WWE championship, and gave it to Travis Scott as a gift. Travis Scott didn't even have to get his ass whooped for that title, and he's not even defending it because it's been discontinued. Shoot, I got to tell you right now, shout out to Travis Scott. I challenge you for your hardcore championship 24/7. I'll take you in any Walmart, any Target, any mall. I want to bump heads with Travis Scott the way Speed got his ass thrown out of the Royal Rumble. I want to take on Travis Scott for the hardcore title. I want that authentic hardcore title. I don't want to just buy a bootleg one from one of those belt companies. I want to have my own ref follow me over there and pin Travis Scott. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about moonsaults off of cars. I'm talking about Hurricane Rana off a light post. Stone Cold Stunners in traffic. I'm talking about sweet chin music over the top of a table in a restaurant. We talk about hardcore title. I'm talking about that 24/7, like back in the day when Hardcore Holly and Mankind was fighting for the title. I'm talking about that. So everybody that's watching the show, let Travis Scott know, hey, I take you. I challenge you. I challenge you. Small time podcaster, big time music artist, I challenge you. Let's see if you can put your skill set where that title belt is. You feel me? But again, this is what we do. Millionaires making millionaires millions. So if we're going to be trying to invest in things and we're going to be trying to change the way we do business and change the way we think about things, we're going to find another way. Our best bet is to first and foremost put ourselves into the shoes of somebody more successful than us, see what they're doing to make themselves successful, and try our best to emulate that in a positive fashion so that we can start making ourselves successful as well. That's all I have for you guys for today. I really appreciate you guys coming to the show. Special shout out to DJ P1 for heckling the show and actually learning something about nonprofits today, because he brought out a whole topic that I wasn't prepared to talk about, but I'm glad I was able to distribute that information to you guys, because it gives you a new understanding of where your donations go and how you should be getting a voucher every time you give money to somebody. Also, as I say before, on a regular basis, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to please make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Y'all are about 70% of the followership right now. Red Void, Danny Steffen, Omni81, Liberty Twitcher, Silly Emma, Max the Poser, Joe, his dad, Mr. Pibbs, Christine. I appreciate you guys coming to the show. Reese Martinez, special shout out again to Brazil and Romania. I like to throw you guys out there on a regular basis. Texas, California, still on fire. Special shout out to you guys for still showing us love. Even though California's on fire, you still got time to watch the podcast. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Another shout out to Dubai, because I noticed a few of you guys coming to talk to us from Dubai. I really appreciate you guys. Remember that we are live 7 nights a week around about 10 o'clock. We do start a little bit late every now and again, because I got to get the answers to the questions before you ask the questions. Full vetted information on this podcast, open-minded, open forum, open source podcast. So you guys can feel free to if you ever want to jump onto the podcast and talk to me in real time. Otherwise, thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.